There's this myth out there that if you want to get more therapy clients, you have to do more work, right? I think most of us have a long list of things that live on our to do list in order to get clients, right? So maybe you think you need to post more Instagram content or write more blogs or network with more people or run more ads or find another directory that actually will send you clients, get on more insurance panels. The list just goes on and on. But what if I told you that there was something unexpected you could do that would actually make it easier for you to get clients with doing less work? That thing, my friends, is raising your rates. Now, hear me out. I know what you're thinking, right? Won't it be harder to get therapy clients if I'm charging more? Or maybe you're wondering who wants to pay more for something when they can pay less, right? Why would somebody choose to pay me more as a therapist if the majority of therapists are actually charging less than I am? And I hear you. I actually really believed this to be true when I started my own private practice. I was in network with insurance and I was charging $150 per session for private pay clients. Now, I say charging in air quotes because I had never actually gotten an out of network client while my rate was $150 per session. I didn't get any out of network private pay clients until I raised my rate to $250 per session. And at that point, they started rolling in one after the other. In this episode, I'm going to explain why higher rates can actually lead to more clients when you take the right approach to marketing, of course. So, the first thing that's really important to consider is the psychology of pricing. So, higher prices can actually signal your value and your expertise to potential people that are looking for a therapist. So, I want to break this down for you with a little bit of an example to show perceived value and how it's influenced by pricing, right? So, think about it this way. When you're looking for a new car, let's say that the car is $5,000. That might feel appealing at first, right? It's definitely within your budget, but you might start to wonder, why is this car only $5,000, right? What's wrong with it? Has it been in a bunch of accidents? Does it have a bunch of mileage? Is there something wrong with the engine that needs repairs all the time? Did somebody die in the car, right? Like, what the heck is going on that this car is such a good deal? Now, on the other hand, let's say that you're looking at a luxury car, right? Maybe it's a BMW that costs $50,000 and that has a hefty price tag. That price tag immediately conveys a sense of quality, right? Prestige, exclusivity. You assume that that car, the BMW, is the best of the best, that it is a better, more reliable, nicer, maybe faster car than the $5,000 Honda Civic. The same principle applies to therapy, right? So when people don't know you, when they are perusing Psychology Today listings, when they find you on Instagram, when they come across your website on a Google search, they are using all of this information to make judgments and biases about how good of a therapist you are. And when you have a higher price listed on your website, that price in itself sends a message. It sends a message to people that you are an expert in your field, right? So it tells people that you are invested in your education, that you are invested in training, that you are invested in ongoing professional development, right? That you possess specialized skills and experiences that warrant a higher investment. It also tells them, right, it conveys the message that you provide high quality care, right? So I think clients can assume when they see a higher price tag that you are going to give them personalized attention. You're going to remember the details of their life. Maybe you use specific evidence-based interventions, and they're truly going to get what they want out of therapy. It also sends the message that you are selective about your clients, right? That you're not just willing to take on anyone, but you are carefully choosing clients who you know that you can help. And it really just sends the message that you are the best of the best, right? So if I'm scrolling and I'm looking for a therapist and I see one person who charges $100 per session and somebody who charges $300 per session, I'm going to assume that the person who charges $300 per session is a better therapist. Now, that might be true, it might be false, I'm not sure. Certainly, I think that charging more actually can make you a better therapist because you have more time and space and resources, but that's beyond the point, right? My brain as the consumer is making a judgment based on what therapists are charging. And that was definitely true in my own life, right? So back in like 2020, my anxiety and depression was pretty bad. And I was kind of like cycling through therapists. I had seen 2 or 3 different people in network that were just like not very good. And I decided, screw this, I need to get a good therapist. And what did I do? I didn't ask people for recommendations, mostly because I didn't want a therapist that was on Instagram or in my social circle at all. Instead, I went to Psychology Today and I looked and I actually searched who are the most expensive therapists here. And then from there, I went and looked, okay, who's talking about anxiety? Who's talking about the approaches I want? Who do I feel like I could connect with? And I did an intro call with a few of those people and picked the person I vibed with the most. But I knew I wanted the best of the best. I wanted to stop wasting time with therapists who were not doing a very good job. And so I stopped looking in network and I started looking for the most expensive option available. Now, I was chatting with a play therapist, Hayden. He lives in North Carolina. He's a Private Practice Academy alumni who's had major success on Instagram, by the way, has grown his Instagram following to 92,000 followers. And he was struggling to get private pay clients from Instagram. So he was charging $150 per session, and most of his caseload was still insurance. And we were on a coaching call and I was telling him I think that 150 per session is the worst limbo middle ground that you can be in because it's not very expensive. You likely are one of the cheapest private pay people available. And you're still expecting people not to use their insurance, right? And so you're talking to people with the lowest budget who probably need to use their insurance to be able to afford therapy. And it's still inaccessible. And the difference between what he was getting paid in network and the 150 was not very much, right? It wasn't worth the time and energy and difficulty of marketing to a private pay client. And so I suggested that he raise his rate to $250 per session, right? He had 92,000 followers on Instagram. I'm like, you need to show your people with your rate that you are the expert that is being conveyed by your following on Instagram. And literally the very next day, he got off the call, changed his rate on his website, had a discovery call or an intro call the next day with a potential therapy client, and booked that client at the full rate of $250 per session. And they didn't bat an eye. And the reason why this is, and I've seen this happen time and time and time again with therapists, is that there is a difference in perceived value, right? He is now telling everyone who visits his website, I am the best of the best. If you want a therapist for your kid, pick me, right? I will be the one to help them. And with his price, he really, really showed that. Now, of course, in order for this to be effective, you also need good marketing. You cannot just raise your rates and expect that that will be enough in and of itself to get clients. Your content needs to show your potential clients that you are the best therapist for them, right? That means that you need to have a niche. You need to be specific in the words that you use. You need to be specific in how you help people, who you help, what you help them with. And this goes for all of your marketing content, right? So your Instagram content, the copy on your website, the copy on your Psych Today profile, the conversations you have when you're networking. You need to also demonstrate with that content, with those words, that you are the best of the best at helping a specific group of people. Your website should also look professional and legit, right? People do not pay top dollar for a therapist that doesn't look like they're worthy of it. And all of these judgments, again, people are making based off of very little things, right? So the design of your website, if it looks super janky, people are not going to think that you're worth very much. If your Instagram has no cohesive branding, no cohesive color schemes, it looks like it was thrown together, people are not going to think that you're worth very much, right? And so you need to have good marketing in place, specific marketing that looks like it's professionally done. You can definitely DIY it, by the way. I DIY it a lot in my business. And you also need that pricing to go with it. So those two things should match. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is setting up a little funnel for people to go through as they are considering hiring you as a therapist. And don't be afraid by the word funnel. I promise it's not that complicated. So I have one for my course, the Private Practice Academy bundle, for instance, that is a little more complicated than what I would suggest that you do as a therapist seeing one-on-one therapy clients. So for example, for my course, right, people typically find me on social media. And then in social media, on my posts and my reels, I send people to a webinar registration page. They register for the webinar, they attend, they get emails following up with them afterwards, suggesting that they join my course. and then they purchase the course, right? So that is the funnel. There's kind of like multiple steps there. They're not just like finding, the course and purchasing it on their own. They're finding me on social, they're going to a free webinar, then they're getting emails, and then they're purchasing the course. Now, for one-on-one therapy, this can be a lot simpler, right? So the first thing we need is content that will get your clients to an intro call scheduler. So this content might be social media. It might be a recommendation from a trusted colleague or referral source. It might be a Google search. It might be a directory, right? But they need somewhere to find you and discover that you exist. Then they should get to an intro call scheduler. I personally have this set up in my electronic health record, Jane. You can use, whatever platform you'd like. I really like having it integrated with my electronic health record. It's easy to use, it's streamlined, and then I'm able to quickly send like all the forms and reminders and everything like that, all in one. It's just automated. But I really enjoy Jane for that. Regardless of what platform you use, they should go from some sort of marketing content to an intro call scheduling page. They should schedule that intro call with you and have the intro call, right? And that intro call should instill confidence in working with you, right? The intro call should not be the place where you are telling them your rate for the first time. That should be clearly stated on your website, and they should know it before they get on the call with you. The whole point of the intro call is for you to really be an active listener, right? And I know as therapists, we're good at that. We've got the active listening skills that are needed in sales, right? The goal is to help them trust that you are the best therapist for them. So really talking to them and letting them speak and listening to what they want to work on in therapy, where they're struggling right now, how they hope things will be different. If they've been in therapy before, what they liked, what they didn't like about it, and reflect back to them how and why you are the best person to help them with that. Instill confidence, say, it's so great to hear. That's actually what I specialize in. I work with clients all the time who feel X, Y, and Z, right? Explain to them that you feel confident helping them based off of what they shared. And then the last step in the funnel is they book, right? So ideally that's happening on the intro call. But if not, you can certainly follow up by email afterwards and send a link to get that started. But they should be going from some sort of marketing content to an intro call scheduler, to the call itself, to being an actual therapy client, right? And so that is sort of like the funnel that we are taking people through. Okay, so to wrap things up, I just really, really want to reiterate that higher rates can make your marketing so much easier, right? Because all that we're trying to do in marketing is show people that we are the best person to help them. That is our entire goal with marketing. And we do that with like making relatable stuff, letting people hear our voice, being on all these different platforms, blogging, search engine optimization, all the things. But at the end of the day, the goal is to instill confidence that we can help them. And so by increasing your rate, you are sending the message that you are the best therapist out there. And that really helps to instill confidence. And it's also going to help you have like a better caseload, right? So your clients are going to be more committed. They're probably going to attend more regularly. They're going to do the work, right? Because they are financially committed in this process. I've never had a therapy client who's paying $250 per session that just wants to come on and vent about nothing, right? They are committed to doing the deeper work and really getting those results. And that is going to help you feel so much more fulfilled in your work too, when you know and trust that you are really, really helping people. And it's going to improve your work-life balance, right? You're going to be able to see less clients and earn more money. It is really, really simple. So I hope that this episode really helped to sort of reshape the way that you think about charging, right? I really hope that you kind of let go of this pressure that I think a lot of therapists feel in the beginning of business to sort of like look through everyone else's rates in their community and pick something that's in the middle or the lower end. If you are going to set a rate just based off what everyone else is charging, I would really suggest that you pick a rate in the higher end of the spectrum and see how that goes, right? You can start with doing it just with new therapy clients, so that way there's not a lot of risk involved of like losing people on your caseload, and see it for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Is it actually easier for you to get more clients, right? Are you getting more people booking from your website or Psych Today or Instagram when your rate is higher? Because there's so much stuff in our brain telling us that raising your rates makes it harder, but I've seen time and time again that the opposite is actually true. So give yourself a raise. You deserve it, my friends, and I'll talk to you later.